So, the full secondary build Preussen, right? GK can work for this as well. Tier 10 German battleship with a full secondary build. All the range and DPM we can get. Except for Lucians. I don't have him on this captain. I believe he's on my Schlieffen for right now. And that's makes a little more sense since the Schlieffen has a few more secondaries that reload faster, although they are of a lower caliber. I think that the Preussen and secondary builds in general, like I mentioned yesterday, can work really, really well in ranked. And the reason why I think they're so much better in ranked is just there's so much more space, right? How on earth would I survive this position in random battles? I just wouldn't, right? Even at the 10-minute mark, there's just too many ships and players in the game to focus me out. Whereas in ranked, that doesn't exist. A lot more opportunities for pushing and using islands for cover, isolating engagements, that kind of thing. And that's where I think the German battleships really shine, and these full secondary builds can definitely do some damage. In this case, we're isolating a fight here with this Yamato. I'm trying to help my team at least secure this win. I didn't do too much up to this point, as you can see. Only 40k damage on this one. But the secondaries are going to do a lot here to this Yamato, and this sustained DPM is pretty nice to have. And honestly, I've found that some of the value out of a secondary build can be just deterring these gunboat DDs from just open water gunboating you. As I had been playing a lot of gunboat destroyers in ranked, the ships that I couldn't really deal with all that well were the full secondary build battleships, right? Because they just shoot back instantly with these secondaries. And while they're not the most accurate, they do enough damage over time that it's really not worth it as a DD player to engage with. At least in open water with guns specifically. I do think that these German battleships specifically are really, really awesome in these positions in ranked because they're very flexible ships at close ranges. These secondaries having so much range allows me to focus on this Yamato. It allowed me to shoot a little bit at that Conqueror. And in a little bit here, I'm going to push forward and try and help deal with this Moskva while also leaving my secondaries focused on this Yamato, for example. And I think we're also deterring this enemy Goliath from pushing at all, since if he started to push, I could just turn my guns and look at him as well, while my secondaries are focused on something else. I think in ranked battles, there's a lot of reward from being aggressive and taking the initiative in this game. I think that a lot of matches are won in the earlier stages where you can maybe deal with a DD, a radar cruiser, taking the fight to the enemy team. And these German battleships certainly can do that, while also being able to engage multiple targets at once. Unlike some of the more standard sniping battleships, right? We were looking at Slava earlier today. They're very much one-dimensional, where they're only shooting and able to impact one target at a time every 30 or so seconds. And that can be very impactful, like we saw with that Schlieffen. But secondaries allowing us to focus on multiple targets at once can be quite nice. In this case, though, the Preussen is really our only target here. Myself and this other Kurfurst here pushed through into A, and actually we managed to deal with the Yoshino earlier on. Hydro, of course, is extremely useful. I think our GK has his Hydro up right now, which spotted all those torpedoes for me, which allows me to dodge them. It's one of the trickier parts about pushing in and playing aggressive, right, is dodging torpedoes. As far as the Preussen is concerned, I think it's a very good battleship in ranked battles. Randoms, it's a bit tougher to play. It does have an insane reload with 457mm guns. It just lacks dispersion, and I have been pretty positive about this ship, but German dispersion certainly leaves something to be desired, especially when going for this all-out secondary build. It's a lot of fun. It looks cool. It's awesome, actually. I really, really do enjoy it. But I gotta say, the lack of dispersion is pretty frustrating, right? We're not able to take Aiming Systems Mod 1 since we're taking our secondary range. And that's a huge downside. The other thing is we're not taking all the survivability upgrades we could. We could be taking basic survivability or whatever the 15% or 10% to flood and fire on the third skill on your captain. Yeah, we don't have that here. We are taking fire prevention at least, but yeah, those fire durations last a pretty long time here. So we're sacrificing some survivability and some long-range accuracy to gain this flexibility and overall damage output at closer ranges. And it can be frustrating at times, especially when the ship does have big guns with high alpha. And there's going to be times like in this game as we're closing up this match where your guns just really aren't going to perform how you would want them to. Like we saw with the Slava, this is basically the exact opposite. So you got to know what you're getting into when it comes to these secondary builds. They're not for everyone, and they're certainly not for anyone all the time. I don't think anybody could really handle this long range accuracy all the time when playing this game. But as an option, it's pretty fun. I think that especially in ranked battles, it goes extremely well. This is a build that I probably wouldn't want to run in random battles, since most of the engagements are at these kinds of ranges, right? 17 kilometers is pretty typical for tier 10 battleship play these days, and yeah, it's just not very good. And unlike the Ohio, we don't have that fast-acting heal where we get our heals back very quickly. It feels pretty bad waiting for over a minute to heal anything back again after playing so much Ohio. And unlike something like the Kremlin or even the Schlieffen, right, we don't get that fast reload on our damage control either. So fires hurt, and we're not healing things back particularly quickly. Even though we do have a lot of HP, it can disappear quite quickly, as you saw with that kind of engagement with that GK. I suddenly took like a 20k, 30k hit. The Colbert chimed in, and probably the Des Moines as well from across the map. So it's not the easiest ship to play, but I do think that ranked battles is an opportunity for German battleships to shine. And that's one of the reasons that I think that it's still worth grinding these German battleships these days. Even though I don't think they're very good in random battles. Ranked battles can definitely be a ton of fun with them, and maybe even some other game modes if there's different brawls that come up at a certain tier. Who knows, maybe there's enough room for a German battleship as well. For me to really want to play specifically this full secondary build, I think I need game modes with less people in them. Or maybe if Wargaming comes out with bigger maps, with more opportunities to take smaller engagements, little skirmishes around the map that build into a bigger battle. But as it stands in randoms, where the whole map is pretty much hittable for most ships these days, it's tough to push in and make use of these secondaries. And yeah, as you can see, we're really struggling to take out this Des Moines in the background here. And actually, I don't think... Yeah, we don't get him. Somebody else does. I was wondering if the timer would tick out before anybody managed to kill him. But we did manage to win that game. 174k. It's good damage. And it's fun. But keep in mind, long range really hurts with this build. And honestly, I'm not sure if this build is what I would really recommend right now. I think survivability, or this emergency repair expert, I should say, I don't know if it's worth it. I'm really not finding myself getting to 5 heals. Usually either dead or the game's over by the time I'm through 4. So maybe it'd be better to take concealment or even something like close quarters combat. Who knows? Just trying to improve that close range engagement. But this is what I was using in the video with the Preussen, and it looks like most of my full secondary builds here. We're taking Auxiliary Armaments Mod 2. It's probably better with Main Battery Mod 3, right? We start to look at a Republic reload, right? Instead of 24 seconds, I think it's 21.1 or something like that, 21.9, something like that. It's a really good reload for 457s, so keep that in mind. You're giving that up here. But in exchange, I do think this is a pretty fun experience. Concealment, I like steering gears, especially on the German battleships where they don't have the best gun angles. We can use our rudder then to keep ourselves reasonably well angled and not take those massive hits. I mean, that's more GK than anything, but Preussen doesn't have the best turret angles either. Secondary Battery Mod 1, of course, and yeah, Auxiliary Armaments Mod 1 as well, since we want them to stay alive. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about these full secondary builds, and have you been playing them? I think ranked is a good opportunity if you haven't been playing these builds, because they just aren't working in random battles. I've been pleasantly surprised here, so thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.